Hi everyone, Trace here. Today we'll be making this fall beaded necklace with earrings to match. These are the items you're going to need. Monofilament cord, ear wires, wooden beads, spacer beads, round decorative beads, metal leaves, crimp beads, jump rings, lobster clasp, eye pins, and the tools you're going to need are a crimp tool, wire cutters, chain nose pliers, and round nose pliers. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is make a leaf cluster for your focal point for the center. So what you're going to do is open up all of your jump rings using your two tools, and you want to hold each tool on opposite sides and twist it open, and go ahead and put on a leaf just by stringing that on there. This one hasn't been opened up yet. So take your chain nose pliers and your round nose pliers, twist that open, and put the leaf on there. Now go ahead and close it up, making sure there are no gaps there. Then you're going to take your next one and just string it onto that jump ring. Making sure that's nice and closed. And grab your next one. Go ahead and put it on the next chain. Making sure that's nice and closed, no gaps. And one more. Okay, so there's your cluster, which will be your center point of your necklace. So your next step is to choose the pattern that you want for your beads. You can either use a mat like I'm using or a bead tray and just lay out the pattern that you desire. I first had this pattern here, and because I didn't have enough of these rounded beads to accomplish the entire necklace, I had to change up my pattern a bit. So I went with this side, and I like it better. So now all I have to do is match this side to this side. And you want to measure out the monofilament to the necklace size that you want. So I'm going to take off all of this side to match the other side. So this will be my focal point, and this is the cluster. I just have to find that top there and go ahead and string that on. So this is, because it's my focal point, I want to have two of these green beads to kind of encase that center. And also, while you're designing your pattern, you want to keep it odd numbers. I tend to do threes, so I have the three red ones here in a row. So basically you just string on a spacer bead in between each of the beads that you want. And so this is half of it. You want to do the exact same thing on the other side as you are beading. So as I'm stringing along, I come to this point and I just examine what I've done so far, and I have noticed that there is a mistake. And it's right here. There's 2 of the red beads and not 3. So what I recommend every time with any crafting, that you just cannot leave that there. I know you've done all this work, but it will affect the balance of the necklace. It won't be even on both sides because it will be lacking that space. So you do have to go ahead and unstring all of what you've done to go ahead and fix that mistake. Sorry about that. So you strung your necklace, you're ready to go, everything is good. You don't have any mistakes in it. It's the length that you want it to be. So we're ready for the clasp. So you want to string on a crimp bead. They're very small, very hard to see. And then you want to string on your clasp. Then you want to take your wire, it's actually the monofilament, you want to go around the crimp bead and into, you want to go around that clasp and into the crimp bead. And before we tighten that up, I want to go through several other beads. Behind it. Okay, that's good. Then you want to tighten that up. You want it not so tight that the clasp doesn't move, or it's so tight. You do want to back it up just a bit and let it flow freely. And you want to take that crimp bead, and there's 2 prongs in the crimp tool. You want to put it in the back part. So find that crimp bead, put it in the back hole of your crimp tool. Make sure that there's some space there, but not a whole lot. We can tighten things up at the other end. Okay, so the bead is in that chamber, so you want to push down and what it's going to do is flatten it out. My crimp tool. My crimp is very, very small. Okay, so we've flattened out that crimp bead. So the second step is to take that crimp bead and turn it straight up and down and put it in that first chamber of your crimp tool. And press down. And what this will do is round that crimp bead so it resembles more of a bead instead of just a flat metal piece. Okay. Okay, so you have your crimp bead all secure and your tail is through several of the beads, you want to go ahead and take your wire cutters and cut that tail off very, very close to the bead so it just hides in there. Now we're going to do the other side, and this is where we're going to tighten everything up. So just make sure it's all tight. And the tail went through those beads, so we're just going to fix that. There. Now just tighten everything up from the other side, hiding that tail in there. Okay, so when it's nice and secure, we're going to be doing the other side. So you want to string on a crimp bead first, and then you want to string on a jump ring. Now I have not opened this jump ring, and in fact this particular one is overlapping the end, and I actually want that because that will keep the wire here nice and secure and it can't go through. So you do want that. So then you want to go around the jump ring and into the crimp bead and into several of the beads. Okay. Go through 2 more beads. I'm ending on a red bead here. It's fairly large. That way it will kind of camouflage in after cutting the wire. Okay, so now you have everything tightened up. Make sure it's all tightened from all different sides and all the way down there. So now it's time to crimp. So you want to take your crimp pliers and you want to do the same thing we did before. You're going to take the crimp bead into the chamber towards the back here, towards the bottom, and you want to press down, making sure that it's not so tight that it doesn't flow freely. You do want to have some movement there. Okay, nice and secure. Now you want to take that same crimp bead and put it in the first chamber, and all that really does is round it off to make it look decorative and resemble an actual bead, so it's rounded instead of flat. So then the next thing you want to do is cut off your tail nice and close to the bead. Okay, so now you have your clasp ready to go, and it's the length that you want. Next we're going to move on to the earrings. And close this clasp up, and there's your necklace. So moving on to the earrings, they're very simple, and I like to do earrings when I'm doing a necklace just because it's a complete set and you have usually several different beads left over, so why not make earrings to match? So what we're going to do is use this head pin, and you're going to string on a spacer bead, a regular bead, another spacer bead. You can design these any way you like. This one here is a little longer with a metal leaf at the bottom here. This one here I'm going to go with, and I really like that. It's a lot smaller. It's just your preference on the size of earring that you prefer. So then the next thing you want to do is create a loop. So you want to take your wire and you want to bend it 90 degrees. Okay, then you want to take your tool, and I use about a finger's length of wire, so I kind of cut it off roughly at the space of my finger, the width of it. I held on to that piece of wire so it won't go flying and hurt myself. So then you want to grab that wire end at the very tip of your round nose pliers, and you want to rotate towards you, and then move your wrist and rotate it fully. Okay, so I just created a loop at the end there with that wire. So now I have loops on both ends. And so this earring here has just the one leaf, but I really like the look of the cluster. So I'm going to go ahead and add this cluster of 2 to make it 3. So let's go ahead and do that. Open up this jump ring and attach it to this here. So now I have a cluster of 3, and I will go ahead and reattach that to the earring and close up that ring nice and tight, and there's the cluster. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on here. I have a cluster created here. I'm going to open up that jump ring, attach it to this loop, so that's the bottom. Now all I have to do is attach it to the ear wire, which is very simple. You just rotate that open just a tad. Go ahead and attach that. Let's open it just a tad more. And close it down, making sure there's no gaps. So there's the second earring. Outside so you can see the details of these beads. They're really gorgeous beads, and it's a really fun project. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and like, and all of the supplies will be in the description box or on my blog. Have a wonderful day.